Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? Um, I hope you're doing good. I'm gonna try something as I'm live. Um, the setup is a little funny because I am in a different location and I don't have my tripod, so I apologize. But you can still see my paper and my materials. You see my eraser, my pencil, and my pencil sharpener. We're gonna draw. And as we draw, I've been bringing the paper up, so don't worry about it. So you can see closer what I'm doing. And if you could get two pieces of paper, that would be great, but it's okay if not, because we're gonna go over and practice some things we already kind of know, we already have been talking about, and then we'll do a drawing. Okay. So let's get started. I'm guessing you already got your materials. Um, and I'm gonna do a set of circles to start. Okay, because we're gonna practice how is it that we um, shade. Okay, the different techniques of shading. This is very important. Okay, so um, if I were to raise the paper like about here, maybe it's about here. I'll use my pad. Okay, so when you shade, right, we want to create those tones we spoke about in the last few videos. Um, and the tones have to be different from each other. And the more you have, the more realistic your drawing is. You could start with at least two, if you have three, four, five, right? And those are grades of um, light in the shades. Okay, I won't say colors because we're using pencil. Okay, we're using graphite, so there's no color here. Just like the shadow of my hand are a different shade. Look right here, right? So the shadow of my hand on the paper is a different shade than the shadow of my hand on this on the back of this board. On the board is a little darker. So if I were to draw this, right, I have to draw this shadow a little darker than this one. That's all it is. These are two different shades. The paper itself is brighter than the board, than the cardboard. So when you draw on the paper, consider that too. Excuse me, consider that the paper itself will be the brightest thing you have. You cannot get brighter than the paper. Okay. Um, all right. So when we shade, we could use different techniques, and that's what we're gonna go over today. Just the basic, most common ones. Okay. Um, and I'll start with the one we have used and the one that is actually more common, drawing with pencil, and the one I want you to get used to. Okay. Um, so I'm going to use the side of my pencil, and I'm going to move it and make a mark of gray. This is why I'm asking you to please, if you could get two pieces of paper, because there's this piece of paper and then another piece of paper where we'll actually do um, like a little drawing, okay? So look at this. And I'm sorry when I bring my drawing to the camera, there's a shadow or it's shade is because I don't have a light source besides the one in the room. So let's see when this focus about it will focus soon. I'm not worried about that. There you go. Now it's focused. You see the mark I made with the pencil? So now I'm going to take my finger. This is the most common one, and I want you to get used to this. But be aware of be aware that your finger does get dirty, okay? So I take the tip of my finger. It's not wet, it's dry, okay? If it's wet, you're gonna ruin the drawing. Make sure your hands are dry. You take the tip of your finger or a few fingers, depending how big is the area you're gonna shade. And I take my finger and I rub it on what I make a mark, okay? I'm gonna show you how that looks. Look how that looks now. Let's wait for it to focus. I'm gonna wait for it to focus. You see how everything kind of smushed? We're gonna call it like that. And my finger is right here. It is smushed. It looks blurry, but it's because the pencil itself is smushed. Okay. Let's wait for it to. I'm really sorry. It's not focusing for some reason. Let's see my hand. Interesting. Doesn't want to focus. There you go. There was focus. Maybe the shadow doesn't allow it to focus. But you see how it's smudged? That's the idea here, okay? So I'm gonna do right next to that what we just did, but I'm not gonna smudge it, just to show you how it looked earlier. So the one to the right hasn't been smudged. This is focused now, and I apologize for the minute I spent you looking at my hand, and I was just making sure the camera will focus, but it will, and it did just now. So the mark to the right, it hasn't been smudged with my finger, and the one to the left has been smudged. Okay. I'm gonna add a little bit of darkness in the one that has been smudged in some areas, just to kind of grade it and show you how you can actually go from light to dark, smudging, and a little darker more. This is the technique that can actually do it more smoothly, okay? That will do it more smoothly. See that? The one to um, the left. You see how the top is darker? Okay. It's the smoothest one. When you shade like this in a making it smudge, it's very smooth. I'm gonna point out with the pencil. All of this is very smooth. Okay, great. So that I'm gonna write here, smudge. That is smudge. Or finger blend, but let's call it smudge because you're smudging. Now, this one, we won't use entirely the side of the pencil. We'll use um, making lines, okay? One line next to the other. Just as simple as that. Look at that. It's just a bunch of lines, one next to the other. See that? Now, hear me out here. The closer those lines are to each other, the darker it will get. Okay? The more apart they are from each other, the lighter it will get. That's just how our eyes see. So if I were to make more lines here on top of each other, this gets a little darker, this corner. It's just that there's more lines. See how this here is darker? The bottom right. It's just because I made more lines right here and they're right next to each other. Okay, so this is called hatching. Okay, we're gonna do two more. There's many more. There's many more, but we do two more. This is called hatching, and then I'm gonna do those lines that we just did. I'm gonna do them again, but watch how I'm gonna darken when I want to darken my tone or my shadow. So look how I did the lines. This is not the next one, okay? This is just hatching again. That's just hatching, just like the one on top. But I'm gonna do something now to this one. And it's I'm gonna make lines coming across. And just because these lines came across that one, the other ones, they became a little darker. Look at that. They will focus, don't worry. There you go. You see the lines that are cutting across? Well, not entirely across, but in an angle. That area, when you look from far away, becomes more darker. But it's really just lines that are coming in a different angle from the previous ones, okay? This one right here. There you go. So that's called, imagine if I even put more lines here. Then it becomes even more darker. This one we're gonna call cross hatching. Cross hatching. I'm sorry if the audio, I hope you can hear me good. If the audio is far away, I'm using the microphone from the computer. Um, it's not like my regular setup, and there's noises outside. Somebody's constructing, so I apologize. Okay, we have one more way of shading. So I'm gonna write here shading techniques, which is a way to create tone. Techniques. Is really translate to ways to do tone. So we have smudge, hatching, cross hatching, and in the smudge I have one here that hasn't been smudged just to show you, remember? But smudging is the very soft, gentle one right here. That's smudge, the one here to the left. There you go. This one that the pencil is pointing is smudge, and it's actually, can you see how smooth that is? It's very smooth because your finger kind of blend everything. It's like blending. Woman, if you do makeup, right, you know this already. When you do makeup, you have to blend um, a lot of the certain makeups they put you put on. You have to blend it. Okay, so my camera is out of focus. Um, let's give it a second to come back. There you go. All right, the last technique I'll show you in this video is very easy. It's just dots. Okay, we're gonna do a bunch of dots. So tap your pencil, creating dots. Now think about this. The more dots you do closer to each other, the darker it will get. So all of these dots I'm doing right now are basically in the same distance from each other. So they're gonna create like a gray. And I'm gonna just show you that. And then I'm gonna put more dots in one side, maybe the left side, just to show you how that area will become darker if I were to put more dots, which actually translates to closer dots to each other. If you put more dots, all you're doing is putting them closer to each other. That's all. So this is not closer to each other. This is just a bunch of dots. As you can see, it's gonna focus it if you give it a second. You see the dots? So now I'm gonna put dots especially to the left. And they're gonna look darker. That area is gonna look darker, but it looks darker only because there are more dots closer to each other. So this technique is called stippling. Stippling. Okay. The drawing we're gonna do is very simple, okay? It's just gonna be shapes. It's gonna come out of our mind. It's not something I'm gonna look at. We're gonna come up with it together, and then we're gonna shade it, and that's it. It will be the basic. It will help you to have the foundation for you to draw anything you want in the future, especially a still life. So you see how now the let's see left side of that area is a little darker here compared to here. This here is darker than this. Is because there are more dots. That's just it. Okay. Now it's really focused. Look at that. You see how there's more? This is very clear here. There's more dots to the left. So this is a way to shade. If this was a block or a house or somebody's side of the face, right? This side will be darker than this. It's called stippling. Okay. So now we're still in the sheet of paper that we're gonna use to practice, to see how things go. Okay. The way I'm sitting down on the floor, it's a little painful sometimes, so give me 1 minute. What I want you to do now is create, I'm going to do it fast here, 4 circles. And the way we're going to do the circles, hear me out, is we're going to draw the circles very lightly with our pencil. And we're going to keep making the circles lightly, 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 lightly. And as you keep making that circle, you start getting the shape you want. And that's when you start putting your pencil down more to create that circle, that the shape you actually want. Okay. So what I mean is, it's not going to be a perfect circle, but I want to train your eye. Okay. This is very important as an artist. Yes, we have all these tools, rulers, templates, all these things, but it's very important that you practice with your own eye to create things, okay? To create a straight line, to create a circle, and you are already doing it. When you draw, you making decisions. You know if a line is straight, you know if a line is not straight, and you don't need a ruler for that. So the more you do those things, you are practicing your eye. So I'm gonna do a circle here, and I start very lightly, but I keep making the circle, and as I drawing it lightly, I start pressing down my pencil on the shape that I actually do want. So this is light, but now I can see this is what I want. So now I press down when I want my circle to be a certain shape. So now I have my circle here. You see how that's a little better circle than if I have started from scratch making a really hard mark. So we're gonna do 4 of those. That's 1, 2, the third. Remember, you start lightly, and then when you see the circle you want, then you start pressing down in those lines. Your line could go in by mistake. That's 3. It's not a mistake. It's just um, you're trying to get your circle right, and this is 4. This is why sketching is very important too. When you sketch, you draw something more than once, and there's a bunch of lines, but in all those lines, you choose and decide which line you want, and then it works. Then it makes sense. That's why, um, and you use less of the eraser. You start perceiving the eraser as a tool to correct. An eraser is not a tool to correct. It's a tool to draw. Okay, so there are no mistakes. You're just drawing. So here are my circles, and you can see there's a bunch of lines to make them. But now we're going to shade each one of them with each one of these techniques: smudge, hatching, cross hatching, and stippling. um, so the first one is smudge, and we need to make this mark first to then smudge it. So let's use the side of our pencil to shade inside of our circle. If you notice, I'm leaving a little bit lighter the top right, and that's it. So I made this mark. Let me put it closer to you. This mark you see here, I made it on the circle. And now when I put my finger and rub it, it's gonna become like this one. Very soft, very smooth. Okay, so from here, it becomes this. This is the most common, I already said it, and the most smooth. So I'm gonna take my finger and I'm gonna smudge all those marks. And if you notice, look how now the circle looks very soft and smooth. It's gonna focus in a second, don't worry. Okay, so don't worry about the smudging on the side or things like that because the eraser will take care of that. The eraser will take care of that. So now there you go, it focused now. Now we can see it better. So now I'm gonna do it again closer to this side of the circle, which means making it a little darker. See, I'm only choosing this side right here. And then I go with my finger again. Now I'm gonna take my eraser, pencil, or the actual block eraser, but I'm gonna use my pencil to erase what came out of the circle. Okay. I'm gonna reshape the outline of the circle. Okay. This is just reshaping the outline to keep it all in place. And you see how my circle is starting to kind of look a little more realistic? It's just the shading. If I were to erase right here, the area that I told you will be more brighter is the opposite to the darker, right here. Then I get a little kind of like a highlight. And then this circle now becomes a sphere, like a ball. And I could put even a little more darker shade back here to the bottom left. But do you see how the finger smudging makes it all soft? Okay, so that's our first circle. We're gonna do 3 more. First circle. Look how it looks by smudging. I could even make it softer because I haven't put my finger there. Okay, the second one was hashing. So let's create the outline. It's already there. And I'm gonna move my hatching lines in an angle going from bottom left to top right. Just like they're here. They go from the bottom left to the top right. These lines. Come on. There you go. Okay, let's do them. Now I'm not gonna try to make too many lines on the top right, remember? Let me erase this, and I'm sorry. What's happening is that I'm making the line so light that is gonna look like if it's smooth, smudging. I want to make them a little darker. That way you could actually see that they're just lines. And I'll explain you when to use this technique. See how they're only lines? Now, if I put more lines on the bottom, it becomes darker. This is taking a double set of lines down here. The lines that I just did in a new set of lines. If I make another set of lines, you see how it's getting darker, the bottom? It's just because there's more lines. That's all there is. Now, this technique is very important when you have a tool that does not, um, you cannot smudge, sorry. Okay, so when you have a pen, especially a pen or a marker, those are permanent marks that you can't really mess with. Once you put them down, that's it. So this is a technique you may want to use with a pen. Okay, if I have a pen, um, I may want to use this technique. Now cross hatching, let me clean my circle a little. I'm just cleaning it. I'm just making the outline more clear. I'm just making the outline more clear. Let me make these lines just like this one. If you see, I'm not touching the top right. So, do you see how they both look almost the same? But now this one is gonna get that bottom. They're gonna get lines in a different way. So if this, sorry, angle. So if this one's going like that, the next ones are gonna go across it. But I'll stop like maybe halfway here. Look, see? And that's cool. You see how now the bottom of this, so the bottom of this one here, this one, is darker because I added more lines to the bottom. The bottom of this one is darker because the lines that I place are placed across from the first ones. And that's what makes that one darker. You see, it has lines that are cutting across in a different angle. So that's called cross hatching. We have hatching. This is hatching. We have cross hatching. And the first one was smudging. You see how soft that is? This is what more artists use, and I have used with you in my videos, and we'll use it today again. Okay, the last one. Let me clean my circle so there's not that many lines, and there's only one line. So I'm cleaning my outline. It's dots, so I'm gonna put a bunch of dots, stippling, but I'm not gonna put dots. Put them, start spreading them out a lot, like very spaced. I'm not gonna put dots in that top right area where I said the highlights will be on each circle. So if you notice, I started making my dots very spread out from each other, very separated. You see? It's just a bunch of dots. It will focus maybe around. It will focus maybe around here. There you go. You see all the little dots are very spread out. So now This is what I want you to do. We're gonna put more dots on the bottom of it, on the bottom, especially bottom left. Since the top right is the highlight, the bottom left is opposite. So I'm gonna put more dots there, like more condensated, more closer to each other. And just because of that, just the fact that more dots are gonna be closer to each other here, it's gonna make that area darker. So this is, if you grab a newspaper, you know, and you get a magnifier, this is what you're actually going to see. This is how printing, the, not cheap, but very economical printing works. It's the press put ink, and then if you see a picture, well, now we get newspapers in color, but in the old days, you could get only black and white. So if you look at a picture with a magnifier, you will see literally these dots. And the more dots you'll see, it was the areas where the picture have darker, was darker. Okay, so now I put more and more and more to my bottom left, and you can see how my circle is starting to get darker at the bottom left, because that's where I'm putting more dots. So putting more dots, I'd say this again, having more dots in one area, it literally just means having them closer to each other. Now they're closer because there's more of them. You see how my circle looks now shaded? Not shaded, yeah. Why is it not? There you go. But now I want it to focus. It's not focused, but it will. Come on, camera. Okay, let's try one more time, and if it doesn't, but you can see how you can see the dots. You can see definitely the dots. Okay. All right. So those are the four techniques: smudging, hatching, cross hatching, and stippling. Now take your other sheet of paper. We're not going to use the entire space of the sheet of paper. Keep your eraser and where's my pencil sharpener close by. Yep. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my paper because my paper, it was a big sheet of paper, so I could just flip it and get the other side. You see there's two papers here, but you may have only one. So this is an 8 by 7 by 11, so it's big, you can see. But you must have something just like this, one sheet. So get your other sheet of paper. I'm just gonna flip mine. And we're not gonna use the whole space, okay? We're gonna use the center of it. Um, and refer to this, a lot of the things we do in practice and the grayscale that I taught you in a few videos ago is something you could post on the room in the area that you draw, okay? Put it against the wall. So you could look at and refer to it. This is something you want to refer to it too. Okay, you don't want to just hide it and never see it again. This is something you look to remember and practice. So on this drawing, we're gonna do a few circles, but this time they're gonna be some of them behind each other. Okay. So let's see. One. This is maybe the first one, meaning the closest to us. There's a second one behind this one here to the top right. But watch how when I do it, since it's behind this one, I'm not going to complete the circle in this spot. I'm just going to do the part that we can see. Because the other part, guess what, is behind the other one. I should not draw it. I shouldn't draw it. See, I shouldn't draw this little part here because um, it's behind the other one. So I just realized it was too small. So I gotta make it a little bigger. That's all. Okay. That's two. Don't worry about the pencil, the smudging of the pencil, or don't worry about that, okay? So one, two, let's make another one. Maybe around here. This one here is gonna be actually the closest one to us, and it's because the one I'm doing right now. It's because it's lower, okay? Remember that, it's lower than the others. So because it's lower, where it touches the table, the fact that it's lower um, brings it closer to us. The plane, you see the plane is resting. This one is resting here. This one is resting here. This is lower. So that visually makes me understand that it's closer to me. In a table, if this was a table, if there was a table. Okay, so let's do kind of like a square here. Let's see, I'm doing like a square, but it's gonna be a cylinder. So the bottom is gonna be curved. The bottom is gonna be curved. And over here, we're gonna have a curve too. So this was like a block, but I made the bottom curve. I made this bottom curve, and I made the top curve. And then I made a line here, curve too. So now it became a cylinder, like a little short cylinder. Obviously, this is gonna become a cup, a cup. Okay, so we just drew some oranges and a cup. Could you believe it? Just with three circles and a square that we curve, and by curving it on the top and the bottom, it became a cylinder. And if you look at a cup, it's like a small cylinder. I'm gonna put the handle on the cup um, to the left here. So that's gonna be like a semi-circle right here, like that. Very wide. Don't be afraid to make it wide. And I'll tell you why. Because we need the handle. Wide meaning push it out, like make sure it's a you know. So this is not an orange. This is a, and I'm gonna do a second line right inside like this, and that's our handle of our cup. See that? You know what I mean? So now we have the shape of the things we're drawing. We have three oranges and a cup. Again, yes, you can see that now, but please follow through the steps I did. Um, so you can see how they were constructed. They were constructed out of shapes. They were constructed out of shapes. Make them small, please. like I did on the piece of paper, because if you make them too big, that's area that you have to cover when you shade. So you're gonna have to do more work. And I don't say this to be lazy or anything, it's just to be aware of your surface. If I do this huge, that's gonna take me more time, maybe another hour, to be able to shade it. So just please be aware of your space and your sizes, right? If I were to do this in a wall, huge, then it's probably gonna take me a few days. So if you wonder, oh, how long am I going to be drawing? Well, that depends on you, on how much or how big what you're doing it is. Okay. So remember how I was telling you, this is before we shade. Remember how I was telling you how I want to train your eye on doing like the shapes, just like we did, or lines, straight lines, without using a ruler. So we're gonna make a line behind all this, a little bit above it. So not right through them in the middle, a little bit above right here where the pencil is, but it's still going through them. When I say meaning going through them, it's going to be behind them. The line, we're going to see it, but we're not going to see it where the object is. So when the line goes through the orange here, it's going to not, I'm not going to draw it because the orange is on top of the line. When the line goes over the cup, I'm not going to draw it because the cup is on top of the line. Now this line, you see where the pencil is? I'm about to start drawing it. And I'm going to use my eye as my way to refer to it. This line um, represents the edge in the back of all this, right? The edge of the surface these objects are in. So I'm going to start drawing my line. It goes through here, through here. It goes through the cup, back here. So just because I drew the line 3 times, here, 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 we know that it goes through here, behind this orange. We know that it's here. We don't have to draw it, but we know that, okay? We know that, we can see that. But now, just because we drew that line, just because of that, our objects are grounded, are more real, are grounded, are heavier because now they're on the surface of something, okay? It's up to you if you want to make another line over here to represent the edge of the other side of the table. I'm not going to do it. You don't have to do it. That line is enough. So basically, this line we're looking at represents the table, the edge of the table, and then what's up here is the wall. So the table may be against the wall or may not be against the wall, and there's a space. We don't know that, okay? But what we do know is that these objects now are on top of some surface. They could be on the floor, I don't know. And this is the floor, and this is the wall. But they are on top of a surface, which is what we wanted, because now they're not floating in the air. Okay, now let's get started shading. Now, you learn, I'm going to flip this just to, you don't have to do the flipping, but it's just to show you. We learn smudging. That's a good focus. We learn hatching. So, yeah, hatching. We learn cross hatching, and we learn stippling. We're going to use smudging. Okay. So the cool thing about this is we could shade the entire object and then with the eraser, give the highlights, excuse me, where we want them. Okay, this is gonna be a short video, but I want you to, um, I hope again, well, I hope I'm not rushing or doing things too fast. If I am, okay, if I were, I want you to not just end when I end and then go back to that area that you need to watching it. Okay, so I'm gonna do this orange. I'm gonna start with this orange with what I mean about just you could shade everything. I could actually shade all of these objects and then do this. Sorry, when I mean shading is I could start making the mark with my pencil and then take care of the finger after. All of them at once, or I could do one at a time. Okay, so this one I'm gonna do one at a time. So I'm gonna shade with the side of my pencil, the whole thing is gray. Now, yeah, let's say the light comes from the top right. So now the bottom left is going to be look a little darker marks. Don't worry about the top right. We're going to erase that a little later to make the highlights. But look how right now this just looks uh, gray, made gray by the marks of the side of the pencil. But now I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to smudge it. That's why it's called smudging. I could erase and smudge to make the where I erase a little more softer. And I could actually put more marks on the bottom left and make the mark. So I'm gonna just now, you see how it looks a little softer and smooth? I'm gonna just now kind of clarify the outline. Sorry, it's not focusing. Come on. I apologize about the camera. Um, there you go. It was focused there for a second. Doesn't want to focus. Come on. There you go. Now it is. You see how now it's focused? So I'm going to bring it a little closer so you can see clearly how it looks. There you go. You see now? Sorry about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the outline. You see all those lines? I'm going to clean them a little. But you see how the bottom is darker? But I pass my finger through all that. And what that does, it makes the blending from lighter to darker more smooth. You cannot really tell in which moment it becomes darker, right? It's a blending process because you smudge it with your finger. So I'm cleaning the outline to make the orange more defined. I'm just talking about the outline outside. There you go. And I could erase now these extra lines that are. Okay. I could still erase a little bit and make more highlights. All right. Let's do the others. So this is what I mean by you could shade them. And if you need to sharpen your pencil, sharpen it because when you move your pencil from the side to get all that, to make those marks, you lose part of the side of the pencil. So you're going to have to sharpen your pencil. Okay. So this is what I meant by doing them all at the same time. Look, I'm shading all of this. I'm doing the cup. In the cup, the left side will be darker than the right side. So I'm making more marks on the left side. I'm making the left side darker. Than the right side. So these oranges here, I need to make sure that the bottom left is darker than the top right. Bottom left, darker than the top right. bottom left of this one, but I can't really see much of the bottom left because it's behind the one in front. Okay, I'm gonna erase the top right. My finger is gonna go through that, so, but I'm erasing it because I know that's where the highlight is, the top right. And in this cup, the right side is lighter. Okay, ready to pass our fingers? See how it looks? But I'm gonna pass my finger now and smudge it. Okay, so I am ready. Finger and smudge. And don't worry because we're gonna erase whatever comes out of the area of the circle. I'm doing the cup now. And the smudging, what it does, it just softens the blending when the colors are meeting. So now, just to show you, I'm gonna clean the outside. Just to show you, you could do that at any point, and we could do it again at the end of cleaning the outside. So what I'm doing is I'm erasing around the orange for all that extra smudging that I did with my finger, right? Because our fingers are wider than the area we were shading. Cleaning outside the cup, cleaning inside the handle here with my eraser, fixing the outline. Erasing again the highlight. Very important here, because here this orange is on top of the other one. And because of that, I need to make sure I do erase. I create the highlight that's on top of the dark part of the one behind, if you notice. Okay. Now I get rid of all this. You see how shading starts happening? I'm gonna clear a little bit more of my cup. Maybe the top of the handle. The bottom of the handle should be darker. The bottom of my handle should be darker. And something happens with the cup, okay? So the cup has an opening in the top. And because it has an opening in the top, the light, follow me here, the light outside coming from the right top hits the cup here, sure, that's light. But since there's an opening in here, inside, the right is dark. So this inside should be dark because the light doesn't get in here, because this side that I'm actually darkening inside should be dark. The light doesn't get here. Guess where the light hits? The light coming from the top right hits back here, inside. I'm talking about inside. So I'm going to erase the inside. Does that make sense? So now you see how the cup looks a little more realistic, because when it comes to the inside of it, it's the opposite to what's happening outside. All right. Remember, as you pass your hand through all this, you're gonna smudge it more outside. So you gotta keep cleaning these drawings. You gotta constantly clean them. And then another thing is, when you're done with these drawings, make sure you put them in your portfolio, or between papers, or in a pad, because if you leave them around and things rub on top of them, they're going to smudge. Meaning in the wrong way, that you don't want the graphite to smudge. So let me fix the bottom of this orange here. Maybe the next drawing, I don't know. Try to do this with hatching, and cross hatching. How will it look? The bottom of this orange needed to be a little more rounder. This may need to be a little more darker here. But you get the idea. Maybe I erase a little bit of the outline. Look, you see how you can see the outline on this one all around? So maybe I erase the outline where the highlight is a little, just a little, to really emphasize that that area is brighter. Does that make sense? So I know it's a short video, but I want you to continue working on it. I'm gonna bring it closer, but I want you to look at it right now. You see how we put in practice the smudging that we see here. Keep this sheet of paper close to you. I mean, not close to you, somewhere you can actually see it. Um, but this drawing represents the technique of smudging, and you can clearly see now that there's a cup and there's some oranges. So I'm gonna wait for it to focus because I know it will. So bear with me while it focuses. There you go. You see how my finger is dirty? The tip of my the finger I was smudging with. Just be aware of that. Just be aware that your finger it is dirty. But you see how this is the close up. Um, Maybe you could pause right here and take a really good look at. Um, you see the handle of the cup? You see those lines at the bottom? I need to put my finger there to smudge that. That's a darker area that I mark, but I never went in with my finger and smudged it. So everything needs to be smudged. So I'm about to do that so you don't see those lines. So our picture is all blended in. And the line in the back, I hope you did your line. Doesn't have to be perfectly straight, everybody. There you go. Now this is focused. This is a good shot right here. And you see how the erasing was kind of random, so I could leave room to the randomness. I'm gonna make out of the three oranges, I'm gonna make a mark of a dot, a clear dark dot, in maybe two of them, not all three of them, okay, just two of them. And that marks that little part of an orange, that was holding from the tree. Um, I'm just gonna do it in two of them, and it could be anywhere. Okay, it could be. So I'm gonna do that, and you see how even that adds a little more realism. So those are little details just to always keep in mind. Maybe you want to write something on the cup, on the mug, on the coffee mug. Maybe you want to ream it with something dark inside coffee or something, as if it's a full cup. I don't know. Just think of things like that. So I'm going to put a dot here on this one, and a dot maybe on this one back here. Maybe that's too dark, but it needed to be dark. All right, so that's our drawing for today. Um, I hope you enjoy. Stay safe. Again, go back. Now you can actually set up something on your table. I don't know, your own arrangement of still life. This is a still life of some flowers, or maybe less complicated. Put some fruits in a bottle or something, and start drawing that. And now you know how to shade it. And you could use the scale that we created a few weeks ago to just see what grade of scales you want to use. Um, okay, there you go. I was just waiting for it to focus. Thank you for your patience. I know, and it's very frustrating for me when I bring the drawing closer to the camera and it's not focused because I don't want you to see that. I want you to see it just like it is right now. But at the same time, it's very good for the camera to be able to focus and get out of focus, because when I'm drawing farther away, then you can also see me. Okay, if it was just locked in right here, when I draw uh, down, then you will not be able to see. So it's good that the camera adapts. It just takes a little while. Um, Great. I hope you enjoy this. You see the beauty on it. You can see it. Again, it's pencil. You could always fix and erase if you don't like the way something looks. Um, for that, I advise you, when you draw, you draw softly and then build upon it rather than harsh, because it's harder to erase something that you do too strongly. But yeah, stay safe, enjoy drawing, continue drawing, and I'll see you next time.